mind if you sit this one out. Hey, okay? All right. 50 years that album.
Has it been
50 years ago. They just had an anniversary.
Oh, really?
Really. There's a part. There's like a band punch right there. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's a great album.
Wise men don't know how it Hi, Shabbat Shalom. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Let's see. Is there an extra kippah down there?
I have an extra. Oh, you got one.
I see one. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, let's do some music, gentlemen. And I use that term loosely. Should we start with the new thing?
Sure.
1, 2, 3, 4.
page 10 or 128. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hine Matov. It's good to be together here in person and through our streaming. We welcome you all.
And it's good to have you back, Rabbi Sarah.
Thank you. It's good to be back. Thank you. V'asu li mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham, says the book of Exodus. They shall build for me a sanctuary, and I will dwell among them. Since ancient times, Jews have created mikdashim, holy places, in which we gather together to worship the Holy One. And since those ancient times, our sanctuaries have been temporary. The tabernacle was set up and taken down at every stop along the Israelites' journey through the desert. The Beit HaMikdash, the temple in Jerusalem, was built and destroyed and rebuilt and destroyed again. Synagogues have been erected and consecrated, burned and abandoned, formed and reformed again. Last Shabbat, our sanctuary was violated once again. The attacker may have entered one synagogue in Texas, but he has ruptured the peace of all of our sanctuaries. We give thanks that the hostages escaped safely, and we pray for their healing and return to wholeness. But we also pray for the return of our sanctuary, our sense of safety in this mikdash, this holy place. Shabbat can help us. As Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel reminds us, the Sabbaths are our great cathedrals, and our Holy of Holies is a shrine that neither the Romans nor the Germans were able to burn. As we enter into this Shabbat, our inviolable sanctuary in time, may we find peace. They shall build for me a sanctuary, and I will dwell among them. It is a promise and also an aspiration. As our commentators have long noticed, the verse should have said, build a sanctuary and I will dwell in it, not I will dwell in them. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs explains, the answer is that the divine presence lives not in a building, but in its builders, not in a physical place, but in the human heart. We are the sanctuaries, the holy places, the safe havens for the divine presence to dwell. And we are the sanctuaries for one another, sources of security and shelter, comfort and strength. Let's join together in singing Sanctuary. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary. We welcome Shabbat with the lighting of candles. We'd like to invite members of the Hershenson family who are celebrating with Miriam this weekend as she becomes bat mitzvah to light these candles. We call up Miriam, Mar, Susan Hershenson, Barbara Shoag, Vivia Hershenson, and Hadley Hershenson. The lighting of candles, the blessings on page 2 or 120. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Miriam will lead us in Kiddush, and we'd like to invite up a few more family members to join her in Kiddush. Matt Hershenson, Joe Safier, Tom Hershenson, Leon Shoag, and Daniel Shoag. You can find Kiddush on page 5 or 123. Just give them a minute. You could take off your mask if you want to.
Baruch atah Adonai, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, borei peri hagafen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, be'ahava uvratzon, hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehillah, L'mikrae kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki banu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, ve'shabbat kodshecha, Be'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat. Chaim, take a sip.
Okay.
Mazel tov, thank you all. Nicely done. Go sit down now. Let's turn now to page 20 or 138 for the words of Lecha Dodi. We'll sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
Shabbat tchila lechadoni likrat kala Enei Shabbat mekabela lechadoni likrat kala Enei Shabbat mekabela Itoreri ki ba'orech Kumi ori, uri, uri, shir daveri kol Adonai, alayich nigla, lech Adoni, likrat kala, enei Shabbat nekabela, lech Adoni, likrat kala, enei Shabbat nekabela. Oy v'shalom, ateret ba'adam, v'simcha, u'v'solat, u'emunei, am segula, oy chala, oy chala. Adoni likrat kala, enei Shabbat nekabela. Lech Adoni likrat kala, enei Shabbat nekabela. Yai, 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 la, 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 yai, 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 la, 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 yai, 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 la, 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 yai, 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 yai,
We turn to page 28 or 146 for the Baruch Hu.
Baruch Adonai, Hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai, Hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Before and after the words of the Shema, the sort of mission statement, if you will, of the Jewish people that calls out the unity of all things, the oneness of our God, we set it up and we follow it with words of love. A reminder that God expresses God's love for us through Torah, and we express our love for God through our actions and our deeds. Ahavat Olam, the prayer of everlasting love, is on page 32 or 150. Ahavat Olam, Bein Yisrael, Amcha Amcha Torah אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו וקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו לאורך ימינו ובהם נגי יומם ולילה נגי יומם ולילה אהבתך תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל אוהב עמו ישראל. Page 34.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed.
Continue on page 36 or 154. You can be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Continue on page 40. Words of the possibility of redemption out on the horizon. Mi chamocha. Page 40 or 158.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar hakodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar hakodesh. Norah tehilot, oseh
give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. We offer our prayer that recognizes the fragility of peace, the importance of reaching out and seeking it whenever possible. Peace and shelter. Hashkivenu is on page 42 or 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom ve'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom ve'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ushmor tzedkenu uvoenu lechaim u'shalom ve'ata be'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom ve'hamidenu shomrei Eloheinu l'shalom ve'hamidenu shomrei Eloheinu l'shalom ve'hamidenu shomrei Eloheinu l'shalom ve'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim.
A thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat arrives in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night. Eternity utters a day. If you're able, I invite you to rise on page 46 as we offer the meditation in the words of the Amidah. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agid bilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. La 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 la, la 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 la.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Hasdei Avot V'Imahot U'Meviv Gvula Libnei Bneihem Leman Shemo B'Ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magem Baruch atah Adonai
Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah.
Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, mechaye hakol ata rav lehoshia, mashiv haruach umorid hagashem, mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofech holim, umatir asurim. Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot umidom melach, melech memit umechaye umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata lahachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehallelu selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Page 62 or 180.
Imrefi ve'yon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri ve'go'ali Yehiyu l'ratzon Imrefi ve'yon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri ve'go'ali. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable, be acceptable. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you. Yehiyu l'ratzon imrefi ve'yon libi lefanecha acceptable. Be acceptable. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you. Behiyu ratzon imrefi behegyon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri begorali.
I know some of you know this, but that rendition of Psalm 19 is written by our own Fred Ross Perry. So how delightful that you and Rabbi Weissman are able to sing it with us tonight. No doubt, may the peace, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God. I invite you to turn to page 253. In the middle of the page, we offer our prayer of healing, our Mishaberach Lecholim.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
The Betham community offers our prayer of healing for David Ben Ami, Jerry Blum, Renee Budak, Yochanan Barchana, Karen Gamaran, Marilu Garfinkel, Selena Glader, Diana Guthoner, Dorothy Hupert, Moritz Hupert, Marvin Jones, Joan Carlin, Barbara Kerr, Esra Ozturk, George Rauschberger, Roberta Rudman, David Baruch Ben Simona, Donna Spanger, Myron Turbo, Nicole Gent Wickenheiser, and Diane Woodward. If you're praying for someone in need of healing, I invite you to share their name out loud. Even if you're home in a room by yourself, say their name out loud so we can add them to our prayer.
Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
He threw a chair at the hostage taker, then ran for the door. Rabbi Charlie Citron Walker and the other two remaining hostages at Congregation Beth Israel were not freed or released after the 12-hour standoff last Saturday. They escaped. Words matter. This is the image I keep coming back to again and again. I am angry. I am frustrated. I am shaken. And I'm sure many of you feel these emotions and others too. The vulnerability, the violation, the fear, the relief that the hostages escaped. This was an act intentionally targeting Jews and the Jewish community. The initial reporting that there is no indication that the synagogue attack in Colleyville, Texas, was specifically directed at the Jewish community was ill-informed and negligent. Words matter. The hostage taker thought that Jews ran the world, or at least the American government, and that they could arrange for the release of a prisoner he wished to be freed. His rationale for entering a synagogue, however flawed or misguided or desperate, was deeply rooted in some of the oldest anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish tropes that span millennia. That Jews control the world, or the media, or the money. Indeed, it sounds terrifying when coming out of the mouth of a hostage taker. But what about the jokes or the casual anti-Jewish sentiments that often go unchecked? The subtle and accepted ways that these stereotypes creep into our culture. Words matter. Language matters. I've had a nagging feeling this week that perhaps we need some new words. The terms we use to describe these sentiments are complicated and rooted in the ever-shifting landscape of our history. The term anti-Semitism is itself a product of modernity. It was coined in 1879 by German writer and agitator and anti-Semite Wilhelm Marr, who needed a new term to explain his new scientific and racially based form of Jew hatred that was largely a product of the broader rise in nationalism at the time. Prior to this new concept espoused by Marr and his colleagues, an older form of hatred of Jews, dating back to the earliest days of Christianity, often referred to as anti-Judaism, focused mainly on religion. The Jews and their Judaism threatened Christians and Christianity, but this hatred was mainly tied to one's religion and could be overcome or escaped through conversion. If someone left their Judaism behind, they could become part of the broader society. Anti-Semitism, in contrast, was a form of hatred of Jews in which one's Jewishness was understood as a fundamental, inseparable, inescapable part of a person. It was in our blood, and therefore could no longer be escaped through conversion. Words matter, and I think we need a new term for what's going on right now. The term anti-Semitism feels like it may be too vague, too technical, too far removed from what it's really about. Jews, or rather, a fear and misunderstanding of Jews and Judaism. I'm starting to get the sense that the term anti-Semitism doesn't evoke the sense of outrage in our broader culture in the way I need it to. I wonder if we ought to explore some new terms. Let's call it what it is: Jewphobia, or anti-Jewish fear. I know the term anti-Jewish hatred is still used sometimes in reference to these kinds of attacks, but I think hatred is already too far along the spectrum that ends with violence. If we call it Jewphobia, we address and confront the fear and misunderstanding of Jews and Judaism that leads to hatred and violence. There's a troubling increase in the rise of fear of those who are not like us, whoever the us is, and in the frequency with which those fears bubble up into hatred and boil over into violence. We are seeing again and again and again acts of violence and hatred and intolerance towards so many others in our society. Asian Americans being attacked, acts of police brutality toward Black people and other people of color. In a seemingly random act of violence, a young Asian American woman was pushed in front of an oncoming subway train in New York City on Saturday morning. a rhetoric of hatred and anger seems to be permeating the very fabric of our society. There seems to be an increasingly prevalent feeling that success and opportunity are a zero-sum game, that my success threatens yours. I appreciate the title of Barry Weiss's article this past week, Being Jewish in an Unraveling America. In it, she wrote, "The attack in Texas, the reaction to it, and the widespread willingness in our culture to judge violent acts based on their political utility augurs a darkening reality for the 6 million Jews living in what the founders insisted was a new Jerusalem. There seems to be an increasing occurrence of stories in the news that demonstrate the dangers of unaddressed fears and unchecked hatred. But if we confront the fear, if we understand it and address it head on, then perhaps we can interrupt the cycle. I don't suspect that anti-Semitism will ever really go away. In so many ways, we Jews are the world's oldest others. But I don't see that as defeat. I think it just means there is more work to be done. As Rabbi Tarfon teaches in Pirkei Avot, the ethics of our ancestors, it is not upon you to complete the task, but neither are you free to avoid it. We are obligated by our tradition to try. Even when the task at hand feels enormous, we have to start somewhere. Deborah Lipstadt, the president's nominee to serve as the State Department's special envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism abroad, wrote in an op-ed in the New York Times this week, "Another tragedy has been averted, but the scars remain. They will take a long time to heal. We are shaken. We are not okay. But we will bounce back. We are resilient because we cannot afford not to be. That resiliency is part of the Jewish DNA. Without it, we would have disappeared centuries ago. We refuse to go away. But we are exhausted. We Jews are no strangers to fear and darkness. But throughout our history, we've always chosen to focus on light, to focus on hope. We are both optimists and realists. We know that there is fear and hatred in this world, that there is brokenness and violence, that there is real suffering. But we hope and pray and act to bring about a world that lives up to our highest ideals." Poet Amanda Gorman, in reflecting this week on almost choosing to not deliver the inauguration poem that has since made her famous, wrote of the dynamic between fear and hope. She writes, "I'm a firm believer that often terror is trying to tell us of a force far greater than despair. In this way, I look at fear not as cowardice, but as a call forward, a summons to fight for what we hold dear. And now, more than ever, we have every right to be affected, afflicted, affronted. If you're alive, you're afraid. If you're not afraid, then you're not paying attention. The only thing we have to fear is having no fear itself, having no feeling on behalf of whom and what we've lost, whom and what we love. On that January 20th, writes Gorman, what I found waiting beyond my fear was all those who searched beyond their own fears to find space for hope in their lives, who welcomed the impact of a poem into protests, hospitals, classrooms, conversations, living rooms, offices, art, and all manner of moments. Gorman is a careful and deliberate crafter of words. She understands the power of words to transform fear into hope. Words matter. In this week's Torah portion, Yitro, we read the 10 Commandments. In Hebrew, they're known as the Aseret HaDibrot, literally the 10 utterances, or the 10 words. These words provide a moral and ethical framework for how we ought to conduct ourselves in this world, for how we relate to God and to each other. In Judaism, words are so powerful that it is through words, through speech, that God brings creation into existence. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Words have the power to create and destroy, to lift up and to break down. Tomorrow morning, Rabbi Citron Walker and his congregants will bench Gomel, reciting the prayer giving thanks to God for surviving a life-threatening situation. It is often said as a moment of healing, yet it feels like as a Jewish community, we still have so much healing left to do. At his congregation's service for healing on Monday night, Rabbi Citron Walker shared these words: "We are not helpless. We bring healing with Band-Aids and hugs, a cup of coffee and chicken soup. We are not helpless. We bring healing with a text, a call, a card, a response that says, 'You are not alone.' We are not helpless. We bring healing with acceptance, patience, and understanding for ourselves and for others. We are not helpless. We bring healing with words of compassion and acts of compassion, reaching out with care and love. We are not helpless. We bring healing to heart and mind, body and soul. We bring healing every day. We are not helpless." We are not helpless. There is much work to be done. Whether it is building bridges with our neighbors who are not like us, through our community organizing and advocacy work, or connecting with organizations like the Anti-Defamation League or Facing History and ourselves, who call out fear and discrimination and work to educate the next generation. Our words in this moment matter. Our actions matter. May we use our voices and deeds to bring healing and hope into our world. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Wattenmaker. If you or anyone you love has been very shaken, like I'm sure you are, by the events in Colleyville last Shabbat, and like to talk to one of the clergy at any point, I invite you to reach out. We are all ears and be happy to engage with you in whatever way. Certainly our whole team here, from our custodial staff to our security team to our clergy, have thought often about what happened in Colleyville last Shabbat. I'm really happy to talk to you about it as well. If you're able, I invite you to rise as we chant the words of Aleinu on 282.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol,
Lateit gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu Mishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu.
287.
V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz. Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo
Be seated. Our thoughts turn to words of Kaddish, words of mourning, a poem on page 290. Why should I wish to see God better than this day? I see something of God in every hour of the 24, and in each moment then. In the faces of men and women I see God. And in my own face in the glass I find letters from God dropped in the street. And every one is signed by God's name. And I leave them where they are, for I know that wherever so I go, others will punctually come forever and ever. If I read the name of your loved one, I invite you to rise in his or her honor. Then we'll ask any other mourners to rise, and then finally we'll rise as one community to say words of Kaddish Yatom, mourners Kaddish, together. Lost to the Beth Am community this week was our member Jay Jackman, husband of Myra, father of Tanaya, Jason, and our member Rashi, stepfather of Elizabeth and Brian, and our member Jason Strober and Joanna Aptekar Strober, the grandfather of Sarah, Jared, Jasper, Lynn, Ari, and Leander. In this period of Shloshim, the 30 days since passing, remember Victor Brill, Lori Dinitz, Victoria Ehrlich, and Marcy Roussoff. And in this period of Yartzeit, the anniversary of death, we remember with love Sarah Pinchas Agronova, Debbie Alcabez, Ike Alcabez, Lorraine Apfelberg, Lois Arnson, Nahun Aviram, Laser Ballon, Kalman Barak, Howard Baumgarten, David Beckman, Lila Bine, Sarissa Sally Benjamin, Sondra Besslauer, Bob Cutler, Marvin Davidson, Bernard DeHovis, Eva Deutsch, Donald Feinstein, Dr. Irving Feinstein, Edna Feldstein, Kahana Finkel, Donald Flaxman, Valerie Joan Fox, Yvonne Frackman, Martha Rottenberg Gallagher, Mildred Nord Garber, Fanny Glassberg, Isaac Goretsky, Eve Greenfield, Helene R. Greenstein, Mildred Greenwald, Doris Grossberg, Laddie Gross, Oscar Jack Grossman, Richard Gumberts, Ruth Gutterman, Mark Hauser, Donna Maureen Heeger, Samuel Heeger, Milton Hollenberg, Peter Jacoby, Nathan Janklow, Tilly Kahn, William P. Carlin, Kenyon Kirk, Walter Colm, Howard Edward Crone, Faina Crudy, Alma Lasher, Juan A. Lee, Reuben Levy, Sophia Levy, Betty Light, Mark Lomberg, Isidore Lochspim, Joseph Chaim Lowenthal, Abraham Lurie, Phyllis Margulies, Ruth Marks, Irving Mintz, Ricky Normington, Catherine Ozer, Esther Pinin, David Plout, Evgena Plotkina, Harold Rabkin, John Rado, Aldef Rushwerger, Leon Roskoff, Muriel Roston, Francis Schaffner, Alan Spall, Jack Siegel, Pearl Sinclair, Pearl Spector, Saul Srago, Stanley Srago, Clemens Stein, Ralph Stitch, Dr. Sidney H. Stone, Beatrice Teitler, Etta Tolkien, Robert Unterman, Jody Weber, Elsie Wiener, Shoshana Dessa Walk Levine, Richard Ziegler, Jules Zulman, and Gary Zweig. If I didn't read the name of your loved one, I invite you to say the name of your loved one that you're thinking of and rise at this time. Or if you're at home, I invite you to say it out loud. We rise as one on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Bi'alma diverak kirte bi'amlich malchute. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'gala uv'izman kariv b'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam ulmei almaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemed kusha brichu. Le'ela min kol berchata b'shirata. Tush bechata b'nechemata. Da'miram bi'alma b'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya. B'chaim aleinu bi'al kol Yisrael b'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu bi'al kol Yisrael b'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen.
Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, me'im evu. Amen.
As you likely know, each month Beth Am collects tzedakah for a worthy and important organization. This month we're collecting for the Jewish Family and Services Refugee Resettlement Program. The tzedakah goes to support JFSs of Silicon Valley. And as we know, the crisis in Afghanistan is no longer front and center in the media. Yet the Afghans who escaped still feel the impact, and JFS continues to welcome these refugees into our community. So I invite you to be as generous as possible. For those here in person, there's a tzedakah box as you exit. For those of you who are streaming, you can donate online, betham.org, or you can even Venmo us at Beth-Am. Be sure to mark tzedakah box. That's a really important work, something that Beth Am has committed ourselves to for a long time. We sing our song of hope and aspiration, Oseh Shalom, page 321.
Oseh shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. La 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 la, la la la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Oseh shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. La 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 la, la la la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la.
Join with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom. Happy birthday.